The image you're seeing is of a firefighter named Mike Hughes having just saved this baby girl from a burning house. And this image is of that same firefighter attending that same girl's high school graduation. Why did he do that? And why did the girl, Danielle Davison, invite him to her graduation? Did he save that little baby because that was his job? Did he save the baby because it gave him a sense of purpose? Did he save the baby because he was in the best position to do so? Maybe was the only one who could do so. Probably all of the above. There are many factors that contribute to why we help each other. Prosocial behavior is defined as any action intended to help, benefit, or positively support another person or group. It includes a huge range of behaviors, of course: helping, sharing, comforting, cooperating, volunteering, acting with kindness, or anything that would uplift and support someone, especially when the behavior is done without necessarily expecting anything in return. As horrible as humans can be, we really can be quite wonderful to each other. Every day, strangers step into danger for people they've never met. Parents work themselves to exhaustion for their children. And ordinary people carry out extraordinary acts of kindness that no one will ever hear about. You know, we have instincts to reach for the crying child, to slow down for the injured animal. We feel for each other. We listen to each other. We do each other favors. We guide each other. We lend or give our resources, whether it's money, cars, even our own organs. We literally donate parts of our bodies to each other. So for all our flaws, there is something in us that leans toward compassion, something that recognizes the humanity in another person and says, your life matters to me. So why are we good to each other? Why do we help each other? Well, first and foremost, we love. Love may be the defining feature of the human spirit. It is collectively our highest value. We can be selective with our love. Adolf Hitler, for example, was known to be intensely affectionate and caring toward his mother. She actually fell sick when he was a teenager, and he cared for her obsessively, cooking for her, cleaning, sitting at her bedside for hours. When she died, he collapsed with grief. Her doctor, who was actually a Jewish man, later said that he had never seen a young man so distraught at the loss of his mother. So none of this is meant to soften the atrocities of Hitler, but it illustrates a powerful psychological truth that love and cruelty can coexist in a single human being. Someone capable of immense tenderness toward one person can still commit unfathomable evil toward others. I don't necessarily think everyone has the capacity for cruelty. I think everyone has wild animal instincts that can express as aggression, but the kind of calculated, destructive cruelty that we've seen in certain historical figures is not a universal human trait. This selectivity of love and compassion for most people manifests rather as a concentration of their love and compassion to their closest loved ones and a gradation of that love and compassion for others who are further out in the social orbit. And there's nuance here, because we may love our loved ones the most and be consistently there for them, but not necessarily be kind to them. I want to share this reel that I've found to be super powerful and exactly what many people need to hear. Check it out.
You can be kind to animals, kind to the paperboy, kind to every stranger who crosses your path. But kindness to strangers is not the measure of our character. Kindness at home is the real test. Because strangers don't carry our history, and strangers don't activate our wounds, and strangers don't mirror back the parts of us that we've avoided for years. Our spouse does, our children do, our home does. And here's the uncomfortable truth that most people dodge. If all of your graciousness is saved for strangers, that's not kindness, that is image management. The real measure of who we are isn't the polite smile that we give to the grocery clerk. It's the tone we use with the partner who loves us. It's the patience we offer when our children are overwhelmed. It's the softness we choose on the days our egos want to snap. Because marriages don't collapse from one major betrayal. They erode slowly from daily neglect, from casual disrespect, from the slow leak of everyday unkindness and indifference. Kindness to strangers might make people like you. Kindness to your spouse makes you trustworthy. Kindness to strangers creates an image. Kindness at home creates a person of character. And if we are kind everywhere except our own house, that's not kindness, that's performance. That is image management dressed up as virtue.
If all of your graciousness is saved for strangers, that's not kindness, that is image management. Some people treat outsiders with warmth and charm while offering coldness to the people closest to them. That's not really kindness. That's a curated persona, a two-faced presentation that is appearing generous to the world, but kind of avoiding the real work of being genuinely compassionate. Authentic kindness is measured not really by how we behave when we want to look good, but by how we treat those who know us best, who see us without filters, behind the scenes. So we're highlighting right now that one of the factors that can contribute to prosocial behavior is image management or exemplification. Exemplification, remember, is when you project an image of high moral character and integrity. Now, if you are of high moral character, you want people to see you that way because you really are that way. There's no discrepancy between how you appear and what you really are. What you see is what you get. But, of course, sometimes people's exemplification is a form of deception. There is a discrepancy between their outward image and their true colors. They're Dr. Jekyll in public, but Mr. Hyde at home. Like, for example, Jerry Sandusky. He was once an assistant football coach for Penn State. He was even called the Saint of Penn State. He was celebrated for his charity work with vulnerable children, but he was secretly abusing many of them the whole time. So his public kindness was a mask that kind of elevated his status and concealed his cruelty. And so, yeah, he's in prison now and for the rest of his life. Okay, so I recognize that we're zooming in on a factor that contributes to prosocial behavior that is quite antisocial in nature, like a selfish, manipulative attempt to earn social status by projecting an image of a fake persona of kindness and love. And so this, of course, is not true prosocial behavior. It's prosocial public displays with an ulterior motive. Let's focus on the more pure prosocial behavior here. So we've already talked about how terrible we can be. Let's focus on how good we can be. So one of the motives of prosocial behavior is the evolutionary motive. From the evolutionary perspective, prosocial behavior developed because it increased survival odds. Early humans who cooperated, sharing food, protecting one another, caring for offspring, forming alliances, were more likely to survive harsh environments and raise healthy children and propagate their genes. So traits like empathy, generosity, fairness helped strengthen social bonds, build trust, and make people more resilient than the hostile ones. So over time, natural selection favored individuals whose brains were wired for connection and caregiving, and reciprocal kindness. So in this view, prosocial behavior isn't just moral, it's adaptive. It reflects our biological history as a species and how we could have only thrived and made it here if we helped each other. So in this sense, prosocial behavior is embedded in our instincts. I mentioned that we love. We love so deeply. Human love is the most powerful psychological force. We do anything for love. We devote ourselves to love. Many people go as far to say that God is love. Love gives life meaning. I had a profound experience when I witnessed my grandmother in her final hours. So she was bedridden on hospice in her home. Her eyes were closed and she was unresponsive to any of the stimulation in the house. And I remember the nurse told us that she was not going to open her eyes again. Many of the family members were present and they were all dealing with it in their own ways. And I saw acts of love everywhere. I was sitting next to her, singing, Amazing Grace. One of my aunts was keeping her clean, cleaning her dying mother. My dad, I remember, was being practical, kind of handling the business aspect of death. My grandfather, her husband of 55 years, he was keeping himself busy. I can't even begin to describe how beautiful their marriage was. It was the most affectionate, mature, unwavering love I've ever witnessed. Not even movies can compare. And there was a moment when he came over to her. I was still sitting beside her, and he held her face tenderly, and he said to her, Ruby, it's me. And he said, I never thought I would love anyone as much as I loved my own mother, but I loved you even more. Do you love me too? And I swear it was with the last bit of life force that she had left that she turned her head more toward him and nodded. That was the last movement I ever saw her make. She died the next morning. Love is so powerful. It takes many forms and it knows no limits. It's often the solution to our problems. If we can infuse love into our thoughts and actions, everything's better. You know, the world becomes more just. That's why Martin Luther King said, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. So why do we help each other? Because we love each other. We express that love in many ways. Maybe you've heard of the 5 love languages: quality time, words of affirmation, acts of service, gift giving, and physical touch. We can consider these all types of prosocial behavior. Now, what does the science of psychology have to say about love and prosocial behavior in general? Well, at this point, there are many organizations dedicated to studying prosocial behavior, the motives behind it, how to get people to be more prosocial, and the effects of it, the effects of being good to each other. There's the Greater Good Science Center at UC Berkeley, the Center for Compassion and Altruism Research and Education at Stanford University, the Center for Healthy Minds at the University of Wisconsin, the Empathy and Moral Psychology Lab at Harvard University, there's the Human Cooperation Lab at Yale University, and many more. The CCARE one at Stanford is really one of the most influential hubs for compassion research worldwide. They publish a great deal of research and have developed various programs for cultivating prosocial qualities and behaviors. And one of the most noteworthy findings from CCARE is that compassion is a trainable skill. I'm going to say more about that in a moment, but quickly, I would like to define a few related terms: sympathy, empathy, compassion, and altruism. Sympathy is the state of being affected by someone else's suffering. Empathy is the ability to actually experience the emotions the way that the person is experiencing them, kind of feeling what they're feeling. Compassion can be defined as this multi-textured response to suffering that includes kindness, empathy, generosity, acceptance, and importantly, the aspiration to alleviate or heal suffering. Compassion compels people to take action. And altruism is a certain devotion to the welfare of others as a principle of action. Okay. So let's look at some of the insights from C-Care. Again, compassion can be trained. Using like compassion training programs like the compassion cultivation training protocol, which I actually had the opportunity to do that and found it to be extremely valuable. C-Care's studies demonstrate that practicing compassion for just a few minutes a day can reduce fear responses, increase emotional stability, and strengthen circuits in the brain associated with empathy and caregiving. Also, compassion has measurable downstream effects on behavior, not just feelings, behavior. Participants who undergo compassion training become more likely to help strangers, comfort people distressed, donate money, or intervene on difficult situations. C-Care studies, they reveal that compassion doesn't simply make people nicer, it increases what they call behavioral courage. People become more willing to take social risks to defend someone else or help someone else. Which I think this is a crucial finding, right? Because it points out that compassion is not just being sentimental, it's a catalyst for action. Another powerful contribution from C-Care is the discovery that compassion and altruism generate mutual benefit. They uplift the giver and receiver. And there's all kinds of physiological studies that show compassion literally makes a person healthier. When you practice compassion, your parasympathetic nervous system, which is associated with relaxation, becomes more active. And this makes your body healthier by reducing the wear and tear from stress and lowering inflammatory processes that are linked to chronic disease. Practicing compassion increases well-being in you, the person who acts kindly. And at the same time, the receiver of compassion benefits greatly. They experience heightened trust, reduced threat response, greater feelings of social connection, mutually beneficial. C-Care, they often frame compassion as a form of smart cooperation. Again, supporting the idea that humans are biologically wired to thrive when we care for each other. It's not just morally admirable to be compassionate, it's biologically and psychologically beneficial. What an incredibly overlooked factor in mental health. People should be prescribed acts of kindness, for real. Speaking of compassion, there is a psychologist by the name of Kristen Neff. She focuses in particular on self-compassion. So interestingly, there are many good people who are seemingly more capable of being compassionate with others than they are with themselves. The only person to whom they are harsh and unforgiving is themselves. Her book is entitled Self-Compassion, and in it, she explains that treating yourself with the same kindness, understanding, and patience that you would offer a good friend, it leads to remarkable emotional and psychological benefits. She talks about 3 core components of self-compassion, which are self-kindness, common humanity, and mindful awareness. And her research shows that people who practice self-compassion have lower levels of anxiety and higher levels of resilience. And it's interesting too, she talks about how self-compassion actually makes people more accountable to themselves. It's not just letting yourself off the hook. So again, those core components are self-kindness, common humanity, and mindful awareness. Self-kindness means responding to your own pain, failures, and imperfections with warmth rather than harsh self-judgment. Instead of attacking yourself, you talk to yourself the way a caring friend would, with patience, gentleness, and encouragement. Common humanity is the recognition that suffering and imperfection and vulnerability are part of being human. When we fail or struggle, people feel isolated, as if they are the only ones who experience that. But like Kristen Efferly emphasizes that if you remind yourself, everyone goes through this. It really reduces the shame and isolation. It reframes personal struggle as something shared, not something that separates you from others. Mindfulness, in the context of self-compassion, means being aware of our painful thoughts or emotions without exaggerating them or pushing them away. It's the ability to hold your experience with balanced awareness, not drowning it out or denying it. And this creates the emotional space needed to respond with kindness instead of reactivity or avoidance. Okay. Turning our attention now to another motive behind prosocial behavior, that is spirituality. Spirituality and religion are certainly worth mentioning here in this analysis of prosocial behavior because across cultures, spiritual traditions emphasize compassion, forgiveness, service as pathways to meaning or becoming closer to the divine. Religious communities provide moral frameworks and social norms around helping people. So it could be charity or hospitality or volunteering or caring for the vulnerable. And they also create strong group identities that promote cooperation and mutual support among members. And it instills, like spirituality instills a sense of interconnectedness, the belief that all people share a common source, a shared destiny, or a sacredness. And many people are inspired to act kindly, not just out of obligation, but out of a deep reverence for life and a desire to embody the values of their faith. And honestly, the vast majority of people in the world identify with a religion or spirituality. So this is a major psychological factor that drives prosocial behavior. Okay, let's take a beat. Why do we help each other? We've acknowledged that people help each other because of love. People help each other to embody and stay true to their faith. People help each other because we feel for each other. We have sympathy, empathy, and compassion for each other. And these emotions compel us to help one another. We help each other because it is beneficial to do so, even for the giver of help. We pointed out that sometimes, of course, prosocial behavior is motivated by ulterior motives, but not always. There are many rewards to prosocial behavior that don't in any way make the prosocial act less pure. And this is what's called social exchange theory. It's the idea that when the rewards of helping outweigh the cost of helping, then helping is just in our best interest. It just makes sense. So what are the rewards of helping? Well, people generally approve of social behavior, so you get positive social feedback. There is reciprocity, so I can expect that if I'm always helping people, people will want to help me when I need it. There's heaven. Many people believe that if they are a good person, they will live an eternal life in heaven after death. It's a major motivator for many people. There's the sense of fulfillment. After all, helping others brings us a sense of purpose. It gives us meaning in life. And from everything I've learned about psychology, I understand a meaningful life to be the secret to happiness. So literally, prosocial behavior brings us happiness and life satisfaction. Please run this experiment. Take yourself as a case study in prosocial behavior. See how it affects your life, your mental health, your sense of purpose and direction if you deliberately help others every day. Do something for someone every day. Speak kindly to the loved ones who irritate you. Look for opportunities to be kind to people in your thoughts, words, and deeds, and see what happens to your overall well-being. There is a clear and undeniable relationship between mood and prosocial behavior. That is, when you do good, you feel good. Many people wait to do good until they feel good. Like when they're in a good mood, they'll be kind to others, but either one can lead the other. And frankly, action is always more straightforward than feelings. If you do good, you'll feel good. This is an unsung hero of mental emotional well-being. It is very difficult to be depressed when you are supporting others and carrying out acts of kindness every day. And please don't misinterpret me. I know depression can be very complex, and I'm not suggesting that you're depressed because you're not being nice to people. That's not it. What I'm saying is that we know for sure that acts of kindness make people feel better. And when people feel better, they tend to act more kindly. And when they act more kindly, they feel better. This is a virtuous cycle. You've probably heard the term vicious cycle many times, but let me introduce you to the term virtuous cycle if you haven't heard it before. It's when you have emotions, thoughts, and behaviors that that generate an upward spiral of well-being and positivity. Be kind in your own signature way. You are this once ever phenomenon in the history of the universe, and your prosocial behavior will have your unique fingerprints all over it, and it cannot be replicated by anyone. That kind, loving, supportive thing you did earlier today would never have happened if you didn't do it. Think about that. You are creating the facts of history, the immutable facts of human history and of your own life. Every act of kindness you bring into this world could have been born by you and you alone. This gives your existence tremendous significance. So thank you, honestly, thank you for all of the ways you have been good to others, for all of the ways that you have contributed to a more kind and loving world. And thank you in advance for all of the love, kindness, and compassion that you are about to bestow upon the world. You matter so much. Your goodness makes a difference. I hope you are the giver and receiver of kindness every day, and that this fuels your mental and physical well-being. I wish you boundless love in life.